Alrighty, guys. Good morning. Happy Mondays. Happy Mondays. You guys are having a wonderful morning so far. Go. Tonight we're doing more Apex Legends, so you guys have that to look forward to. Ordered a new pair of glasses, guys. Still, like, this glasses is an ongoing thing. These guys that I ordered from Zenny, I thought I ordered them with CR-39 plastic. I'm pretty sure they sent me glasses with my index plastic, which I've talked about my glasses off and on the broadcast throughout the months. Anyways, usually when you order them, they take like 3 weeks in. So hopefully I'll have another pair, and like they're going to look identical to these, because I actually kind of like the way these look. You're going to look identical to these simply because they're a cheap pair of glasses, and I've been trying to try out different types of plastic. And I think actually when I went in for my appointment for my last pair of glasses, putting aside that whole debacle, I think the prescription, my old prescription for my glasses, was actually better than my new one, unfortunately. So I ordered a pair of glasses. They're my old ones in CR-39. Hopefully they'll come back in CR-39 plastic, which is very, very basic glass lens material. But the good thing about it, like they're usually pretty thick. The good thing about it though is they don't distort. Means it's very, very helpful. Like the peripheral does not distort much. It's very, very helpful for playing. Much like my ancient giant glasses. Had really big lenses, and I happened to get them made. That was years ago. Anyways, yeah, so those are coming in. I'm not sure exactly. Kind of the weird thing is, guys, like I thought I was going to get a better experience by shopping, like going to a local, basically place that's been there for a while. I didn't. Like going to Costco or a Walmart, it actually is probably just about as good as going to a fancy eyeglass place. Only difference is the amount of lenses or the amount of frames that they have on display. And the place I went to, I'm pretty sure they had less frames on display than something like Walmart. So I basically paid more money for a worse prescription and worse experience than I would if I went to Walmart. That's absolutely fucking insane. My frames and glasses, all in all, with an appointment, cost me $800. That is absolutely bonkers. The glasses themselves were insanely expensive. The frames were only $100. That was after all their little things they threw in for dates and discount codes and shit like that. Anyways. The frames I got were $100, and each lens I think was $150 a piece, which is pretty ridiculous. And then the lens coating was $100, and then the appointment, contact appointment was like, oh yeah, pretty fucking expensive, guys. And then the contacts were like an extra $150. Basically, never doing it ever again, guys. Yeah, never doing it again. I thought I was going to get a better experience. I've basically gotten Walmart or like Shopco, basically the optometrist that's inside of a big brick and mortar store, you know, that everyone talks about horror stories with. I basically talked. I thought I was going to. I wanted to do it right. I wanted to make sure I got the right prescription, and basically going to a normal optometrist in their own little special place was just as good as going to a Walmart. I probably would have opted to get a Costco membership and go to Costco because I hear Costco. However, I don't have a Costco in town, so I would have had to have traveled. But generally speaking, like a lot of eyeglasses is like it's trial and error. It's like figuring out for yourself whether to go one or two. That's because there isn't an accurate way of actually gauging what kind of prescription you need. You're the person that basically figures out the prescription for yourself. As weird as that sounds. So, like what I'm doing right now is for the sake of anecdote, just like opposite direction here, not anecdotal, but opposite direction here. These were $40. They're rimless. These are supposed to be CR-39 plastic, but they weren't. These are from Zenni Optical, but they weren't. The one thing that I did do is I went around the edges with a Sharpie. I told you guys about that. That's why it looks like my eyes are kind of dark, is because there's Sharpie on the edges. Because the one thing I really hate about rimless glasses is where the light comes in the top, and it's just like a fucking mirror on the edges where it just goes like right into your eyeballs. So going around the edges with a Sharpie is actually really, really, really good. It helps immensely. And it actually looks kind of cool. No one else does this. It looks kind of cool, too. But anyways, what I'm in the process of doing now is I wanted to get glasses with CR-39 plastic. I wanted to see whether or not... Thanks, 1 second, guys. Miner's is acting up. I wanted to get CR-39 plastics. I wanted to see if it would help with my... how to describe it, like peripheral vision really sucks with my new prescription, and I got it with my new prescription, and I don't think these glasses are made out of CR-39 plastic, even though I specifically ticked the box on their website for 1.5 mid-index lens, which says it's a CR-39 plastic. I clicked the button, but there's two options that are free, and I think they just sent me medium, like not high index plastic, but it was like the next notch up. Like it's supposed to be slightly better, but I think like CR-39 is in so little demand because it's generally the lenses are thicker, that they just don't stock it. So then they just gave me what they had on hand, which, you know, maybe they thought was a better option for me because it's kind of an upgrade, but it's not. That's the whole reason I ordered these, was because I wanted CR-39 plastic. And I still don't think, just based on the thickness of these lenses, I really don't think these are actually CR-39 plastic. My old glasses, these fucking guys, these guys right here, these are definitely pretty fucking sure they're CR-39 plastic. But just in comparison here, guys, if you look at the edge on that thing, I can't see if you guys can see that, and then you look at how thin these are, there's no way these are so CR-39 is some of the thickest lens material you can get. There's no way that these are CR-39. These are almost as thick as my new glasses, which are high index, really, you know, expensive. I actually like the frames that I got. These guys, these are actually look pretty cool. But these are really thin. You can see that, and then that. They're almost. This is like 1.5 cents. These might be like a 1 point, or not 1.5 cent, 1.67. These might be a 1.61 or something, or these are 1.61. Anyways, okay, I gotta deal with that miner real quick. I don't know why, guys. I just really hate dealing with returns. I'm not sure what it is, and I didn't talk to Zenni Optical, because then figuring out whether or not these are actually, like, I'd have to send these back to Zenni, which is the company I ordered through, which is a China company. I'd have to send them back to Zenni for $5, and it's going to take 3 weeks, and then they'll get back to me in like a month. The whole process takes so fucking long, and it could be that these are actually CR-39 plastic. I kind of highly doubt it, though. I have to go back and send it to them and then send it back, and I just didn't want to go through the effort of that, which is, I really should, because it costs money, right? But these are like, these glasses themselves are like, the whole reason I got these were for like a trial is because this is like $28. All these, they're $34. All this total is like $34. Face not included, guys. I know you love my face, but face not included. This whole thing, these are all like, this is like $34 right here. With a lens coating, you always have to make sure you get a lens coating. Like basic level lens coating was $5. Compared to, I mean, Walmart's going to be even more expensive. Zenni Optical, though, China company, you know, And I have had bad experiences with Zenni where they sent me lenses that were mismanufactured, and I had to send them back and forth before I finally got a pair that worked out. So I just didn't, and I've kept these, and so now I'm getting another pair that are going to look identical to these, basically same everything, another $35 pair, with a slightly different prescription. I changed my prescription back to my old prescription from Walmart, and basically just updated my PD values, which is the pupillary distance. Pupillary distance, which is the distance of your nose and your eyeballs. Anyways, I updated that, and I got a new prescription, which hopefully will also be made in CR-39, so I can just legitimately just compare the thickness of those lenses to these, and I guess whatever at that point. It could be that they offer, like they advertise a CR-39 lens, but they don't actually offer it. They just give you whatever the fuck they have on hand, because I'm pretty sure these are not CR-39. Almost 100% certain on that. So we'll see what happens, and I do eventually, whatever I end up with, I do eventually want to order. I want to order it in Trivex. I want to get Trivex because Trivex apparently is almost like it has the benefit of CR-39, but then it's thinner at the same time, and it has apparently like some of the best optical qualities of any lens material. No one really offers it because it's kind of like a exotic lens material. Basically, everyone tries to sell you on high index lenses, which are really thin and light. They try to sell you on that, but the whole thing I've talked about before is the distance between like your words aren't working, guys. Your peripheral vision. You know, when you play video games, you look all over your lens without really moving your face around. Almost no one moves their head around constantly while they're playing video games, right? That would not only is that like a strain, but you'd definitely like you'd strain your muscles just by doing it. An exercise, it's a workout, and it'd get just like tedious after time. It also you just get a workout. So obviously, when you're a gamer, you look all over your lenses all the time, and if your peripheral isn't very good in your lenses, that means you're going to spend more time either moving your head around or something's not going to be completely focused when you're looking around. It's actually a really big deal. Not a lot of people talk about it or even take time to look at it. They just, go to the eye doctor, get whatever, the optometrist, and get whatever the fuck they say they should get, and then they just deal with it. That's the way a lot of people are. However, that's not the way it needs to be. And that's the whole reason I'm doing a little bit of testing here, off and on. I've been doing this since probably November. I've talked about it. I've even further back than then that I ordered a different pair of glasses, which didn't turn out right because I didn't measure my PD correctly myself. That's like the one good thing I actually got out of my optometrist was my PD measurements. Waste of money. Absolute waste of money. Kind of sad. Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. I'm going to have a new pair coming in the mail in like 3 weeks probably. Usually about 3 weeks from the time I order it to the time I actually receive it. Like earlier today, so. And then after I get those and I try them out and see if I like that prescription better than this prescription, then I'll decide on whether or not I want Trivex, and of course I can buy a more expensive lens and lens coating, which helps with reflections, eye fatigue too. I was actually thinking about that. Like my new lenses, like they gave me it's called a premium lens coating, but they never actually told me what it was. And I do wonder if there's some sort of blue light blocking built into that, because that's a new thing they try to sell you on is blue light blocking. I was just thinking about that just now, if it's anti-reflective or if there's actually no, I don't think there's any blue light blocking in it. I think they asked me if I wanted them and I said no. Yeah, so maybe it's just a really, really expensive lens coating, which is really no different than the inexpensive lens coating I got from Zenni. But we'll see. Yeah, the whole going to like a normal, just your hometown optometrist, bad experience. And I think the only people that go to that place are like people that have insurance, and I don't fucking have insurance for glasses. That'd be insane. That'd be fucking insane. That's like people with really, really good jobs that go there. You're like, oh. You guys take insurance? Yes, we do. wow, I have to pay no money now, yay, sort of thing, you know. And here I am paying full price for glasses. They're paying like $100. Anyways, bad experience. Still going through it. I'll eventually figure it out. It just takes time. The whole process of ordering it. This is one of the downsides of paying only $50 for a pair of glasses, 40, is this whole process for me getting these and trying them out takes 3 weeks. I mean, even if I went to a normal optometrist and I ordered glasses there, it'd take like a week. I could have ordered a better expedited shipping method, which would have only taken approximately 1 week. However, the time to process glasses takes like a week anyway, so they say 3 weeks, but really, like, part of that is just them actually making the glasses, which takes like a week, so I don't know. Not really a benefit, but what happens with that. I do want to try out Trivex. That was one of the reasons I got lenses from there, is because I wanted to try out different types of lens material. Which, if I order a new pair of glasses through my optometrist in town here, you know, that's like $150, and it's like, what the fuck am I doing with? What am I doing with money, guys? I don't fuck. That's a lot of food. A lot of food. $150. Stay alive for a long period of time. Anyways, guys, tonight we're going to do Apex Legends. One thing that I was doing yesterday is I uncapped my FPS again, and there's definitely some stuttering, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to attempt to force Apex Legends to only use 5 cores, which is very difficult because Apex Legends always takes you can't change anything on it because of the access denied thing. Can't change any of the priorities on it. We'll try and fix this. This is purely because of the anti-cheat. Anti-cheat does. I wonder if I can run this without actually running it through Origin. Let's see what happens here. It'll actually log in for me. But I might be able to start this with the start command. That'd be easy, then I wouldn't need to modify my registry. I guess. But this does not do the run commands I have set up in Origin. Actually, it does. Enough. That's interesting. I don't have this set up to use the run commands. Command line. Normally when you set like launch parameters, it doesn't when the game launches.
Welcome to Apex Legends. I am Bluthundir.
Go uncapped, guys, which is the FPS command.
Let us begin with basic movement. Complete the checklist on your HUD. Follow me. Sliding down hills increases speed.
Okay. We'll figure this out. One step at a time, guys. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Anyways, as I mentioned, the game tends to do this. I think this is one of the reasons they actually cap your FPS, because they know it does this and they don't know how to deal with this. Normally games do not do this, where they use 100% of your core. They'll throttle themselves so they don't hit your max. This is where you get stuttering. GPUs, when they hit 100% utilization, that's where they're meant to be, and they'll actually, GPUs work well at 100%, and they will they'll ramp up and down with a little bit of finesse. You know, you just lose FPS and it won't really stutter that much. But when your CPU maxes out like this, it can end up with a lot of stuttering, because everything in your OS operates on your CPU. Everything in your OS operates on your CPU, so it's not just the game that hits 100%, then Windows hits 100%, and everything just fucking grinds. And even if you change your priority, that does not mean the rest of Windows won't stutter because of it. So one of the things we're doing to get around that is I want to set Affinity, which is how many cores the processor is actually using, and then we'll leave one processor open for the OS to take advantage of while everything else is being used by the game, basically. That is the end game. That end game scenario here. But before that, let's cover the Reddits real quick here, guys, and see what's going on. Oh. Okay, preseason patch notes number 2. So there was a patch yesterday. We will go over this, cover this real quick, and see what's going on. PS4 crashes. Slowly after revive. I've moved slowly after drop. That's not fixed. Fix issues with the Mirage ability causing crashes. Interesting. Alter epic skins and Xbox causing crashes. It's not like I've had times where I drop and I move like a fucking snail pace. That ammo guiding me to treasure. The fuck? Huh. Got some physics bugs going on there. Gone fishing. When you can't play well, play smart. They're synonymous with each other. There's a lot of people that sum up playing well in games, guys, as aiming. And it shouldn't be. Only skill in games is 100% not aiming. Not aiming. A lot of people think it is, but it's not. Mozambique buff concept. You mean just make it do more damage? Oh yeah, dual wield? Okay. It basically, the Mozambique is a wingman with a round that splits in 3. Makes no sense. You can make it do 3 times as much damage, increase the spread on the pattern, and then, you know, then they actually have a working shotgun pistol. Dang Lador. Okay. Excuse me, I need to grab the banners real quick. Probably could have actually just killed those guys pretty easily, actually. Yeah, at least one of those guys he could have easily killed right off the bat. People die so fast. Time to kill is so fast in this game. When playing alone, Mirage will speak quieter in a quieter voice and will make comments about how he's talking to himself. That's fucking great. Attention still. And Cossack has finally paid off. Small. What? Oh, bunker. Who would have thunk? Yep. I've seen people do that. That's a new thing, by the way, is you block doorways with his barrels. Yep, and people can't walk through it either. Mirage took a few hours, post better version later. Ah, you're so funny. You bamboozled me. Ah. Guys, I think I sent the wrong package. Dick pics? Ah, that's pretty good. Like I said, I really, really hope this game has a Titanfall mode in it. Like, not the main game. You don't need to replace the main game. But this game desperately needs, like, I think the actual tried and true ticket for this game is Titans in Battle Royale. I really do. And I'm not talking like everyone has a Titan, but make them objectives that people have to fight for, and actually things in the game that are meaningful, like, pieces of the map that you can actually take advantage of. Well, not necessarily part of the map, but make it so there's a way of actually obtaining a Titan, and then your team gets to play around it, riding, you know, imagine people riding your shoulders while fucking going into battle, that sort of shit. You know, like Titanfall is actually just a really, really good game. They just never really had the, not only the size, because the games were really, really tiny, but also like the hype train to keep it going. Like Titanfall, like for some reason the original Titanfall when it came out, like just Twitch just turned on it, absolutely turned on it. Like everyone was for it, and then people realized they couldn't do good at it, and then they just went viral on it. Ate the shit out of it. They fucking hated the game. Weird as shit. And like some of the people I heard trash talking it, you know, like went back and played the game couple years later, and you know, like they're like, this is a fun game. Yeah, because it fun guy. They're still being a douche. Yeah, I really think it just Titanfall was actually a really great game. Probably should tweet that because I haven't. I've talked about it basically since the game launched, but unless you write it in stone, guys, you didn't say it, so. Really think where Apex will shine is if they add a ball their game mode, placing the original, rather another R with objective based game. Round based round time. Not that every get one. It's possible to player fight over at respawn. Always got at respawn. The thing where Apex will shine is if they add a Titanfall BR game mode to the game. Not replacing the original, but rather another BR with objective-based gameplay. Objective gameplay based around Titans. Not that everyone should get one, but rather it's possible to acquire, use, fight over the Sadly, Twitter is one of these places where people really only read your tweets if you have thousands of followers, so... That's not me. Thousands of likes and retweets and shit like that. Speaking of care packages, like they could just replace the model of the care package with the Titan. You could just open up its legs or something to get loot out of it. Anything. I'm reasonably convinced we'll see Titans in Apex. No! This is why you have to write it first, guys. You always have to write down your ideas first. Now I'm just a me too. It's too late. The kids have enough time to put 2 and 2 together, so basically I lost initiative. I like people that are just like, no, there's no anti-Titan weapons in Apex. Teehee. Yeah, because games never change, ever, and there's no way they could possibly add new guns to the game, ever, or do anything that would balance gameplay around Titans, ever. Some people, guys. Just bought Titanfall 2. What the fuck? That game is a shit. Sad there's so few people playing it. Yeah, like I said, Titanfall was a really fun game, and I actually think Twitch kind of, like, just the big streamers just had a backlash against it because they weren't really good at it. They figured out they weren't really good at it, and then they just started shit-talking it because they wanted it to die so they wouldn't be compared to it. Talking about the original, I never played Titanfall 2. I played Titanfall 1. Titanfall 2 was stillborn because no one... wasn't any airbase for it. That and the games were always too small. That was like one of the downsides of Titanfall. With like 4v4s, so just like no one. Blame me for releasing Battlefield 1 in the same week as Titanfall 2. No. Oh, 2 different games. First person shooters, but absolutely completely different. Put 2 and 2 together, guys. Wait, I have to write down my ideas before it becomes common pleb knowledge. Where there's just a guy on Reddit after the fifth one of these videos where they just basically replace the Titan, like the drop package with the Titan. They're like, oh, hey, there should be a Titanfall in this game. Weird, that'd be so cool. You know, like before they even considered the idea of you can just like good word for that. You can figure out how the common, like, not really zeitgeist, but rather thought pattern of most people works, how they transition from one idea to the next, how they just keep, you know, moving, just hopping from one idea to the next, and then they eventually put 2 and 2 together. Wasn't like, didn't think about it before. They basically saw like 5 memes of the same thing, and then they're like, wow, maybe there'd be a good idea to put Titans in this game, you know, sort of thing. Probably means that actually it probably actually means that Respawn has already thought of it and they're considering it. Like I said, Shroud had a lot of influence over this game. Apparently he was their insider guy for part of the development process. So like the whole reason that there's spray patterns in this game and the gunplay kind of really sucks dick. By the way, the new car smell of this game is already wearing off, in case you guys missed that. Hence, people are starting to quit playing it and going back to Fortnite, stuff like that. Because the gunplay, honestly, really isn't that interesting in the game. Once you start playing it for a bit, the hang of it, like, it's all the same shit, so... Sadly. going to be the downside of this game. Is basically all the guns are stat sticks. It doesn't fall from each other. What's going on with BattleNet? Interesting. Yeah, stat sticks in this game. Cheating, stat sticks, the classes not being very well balanced, all kind of leading into things here. Like where where are we at right now? There's probably still more people playing Apex. Oh, it's getting closer though. This is definitely, the gap's closing. Respawn's burning that hype train, guys, for so long. That's the way it goes until it finally piddles out. Fortnite never gonna die. There's no way. There's so much more game to Fortnite. Dottie, what the fuck's going on there? Good job, Fortnite. No, I don't know. I don't think Epic had anything to be afraid of. People that always just like, they like Mimi and they like jumping the train like immediately. They're like, oh my god, Fortnite's gonna die, guys. It's gonna die. Oh my god, sensationalist bullshit sort of stuff. But that's never gonna be true. There's no way Fortnite would die. It's too big. There'll always be a game somewhere. It's like WoW now. Maybe it won't have the same size player base, but there's definitely gonna be a lot of people playing it. Apex Legends, as I mentioned. Big Fortnite streamers event. They went back to Fortnite. That, and they look at their the amount of people watching them, and then they see what actually gets them the most viewers, and they play that. Also, having trio squads and squad trios and solo trios split up would be very helpful as well. General plebs, so they don't get steamrolled constantly by good pre-mades. Anyways, looking at the Reddits, let's move on. Before I get salty about the fact that I didn't post it on Twitter soon enough. Yeah, they're definitely going to have to rebalance the classes. One of the fatal mistakes they made with the classes was they gave them different size models, and then they didn't tweak their stats to make them actually representative of their models. Like some characters have faster move speed, you know, so it's more like kind of like an RPG, but not really, because you can still pick which characters you play. So someone like Gibraltar, which is a giant fucking hitbox, basically has like he basically just takes more damage because of the size of his hitbox. Just being comparable to like one of the people are talking about the reason they play like Wraith, for instance, now is because of the size of her hitbox, and that's really it. Because of the way she runs, which is where she does like the crouch run thing. Respawn made some kind of big mistakes with that, where they thought that they could just make the characters have the same stats, but game mechanic wise not really function the same way. So like in Fortnite, for instance, even though they have a ton of different skins, they're all based off those basic models that are built into the game, with very little difference in like the actual, like they'll try to minimize how much flair they have on, so they won't make a giant fucking piggy in the game and then like a fucking like gnome running around, right? They won't do something like that because it actually throws off game balance, and they know it. So there's actually limitations to their art team as far as where they can go with pros and cons, whereas Apex went with a class-based system where you have classes. Obviously you can use whatever weapons you want, which I still think could actually be part of Fortnite. Not that they should have classes, but rather you can pick not a profession, but rather a specialization. You can pick a specialization, and that will actually allow you to gain some stats that you otherwise wouldn't have. In Apex, they designed it so you have characters, you have classes, but the classes aren't really finished. They didn't make it so certain classes move faster or slower. They all have the same fucking stats, and it makes sense until you put into perspective the fact that they don't have the same size hitbox, which then you have, Gibraltar, like I mentioned before, who's a fatty, who eats more damage, but he doesn't have more health. So, like, it's kind of like a half-baked system where they thought they could do it, but they can't really. You can't do that. They'd have to give Gibraltar the same size hitbox as, like, a Wraith, and then make it so Wraith doesn't run that way, because running that way is also, like, it bends over her model. Also isn't, like it's actually part of her kit, is the ability for her basically to eat less damage. People are starting to figure that out now, which is one of the reasons people mention that they play Wraith, is because of that. Even though Wraith's abilities all kind of really suck, to be perfectly honest, she's probably, if you look purely at her abilities, is probably one of the worst characters in the game. However, if you look at the fact that she can bend over and has a really tiny hitbox, that kind of doesn't sound quite right, but otherwise she can avoid a lot of damage. That's a really big deal. That's like basically having an offensive boost to your character. Unintentional, maybe, or intentional by Apex, or by Respawn. I kind of doubt it's intentional. However, it makes it so they're going to have to, either they're going to have to make the character hitboxes exactly the same, and give Wraith a straight back again, so she runs up like a normal person, or they're going to have to actually go more towards an RPG element in the game, or they're going to have to buff their abilities a lot to make up for the fact that they have like different size hitboxes, which is something they could also do, like with Caustic, where they're not Caustic, Gibraltar. They made it so his abilities are much more powerful than they currently are, so he becomes a more powerful character, even though he doesn't really have, which is really no different than just adding more HP to him. It's another way of doing it. There's a lot of different ways to balance video games. Tons of different ways to balance video games. Spray patterns, I'm never going to agree on that. Like, all the guns in the game are basically stat sticks. They have no gun differentiation whatsoever in this game. They're all basically the same weapons. You can argue that they feel slightly different, because they do. But at the end of the day, they aren't like fucking weapons in Fortnite. Like, you aren't picking up a sniper rifle, and you're like, the only class that can really snipe well with that is the sniper rifle, because in the game, because it has damage fall off. Other guns have a lot more damage fall off. The projectile flies straighter, which is completely untrue, like the Wingman, for instance. Who the fuck designed that gun? It's basically just a DMR with a super straight projectile and almost no inertia inheritance, so you can jump around a lot, and basically the bullets always hit where you're aiming. It's just fucking game. Gun design in this game is just all over the fucking place. People said this game had really good balanced gunplay, and it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like fucking Fortnite, or not Fortnite, like Counter-Strike. And that's not remotely balanced. Counter-Strike has two weapons, an M4 and an AK, and you don't get both of them on the same team. So, anyways, I've talked extensively about that last night and the night before. We won't get into broken gunplay in Apex, but it is something they're going to have to address before their hype dies out. And it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough, because if they switch to Cone of Fire, a Cone of Fire balancing method, which with damage fall off, much like a lot of other games in existence, the hardcore crowd like Shroud that is sitting here and basically he's just like taking a fucking blender full of subs in his mouth every time he plays the game, he's just gonna bitch up a storm about it, because basically he's just making bank off the game right now, and its success, which is basically designed around his gameplay, which is basically Counter-Strike. He basically fed the developers what he wanted in a game because he would be good at it, not because it would be unbiased and it's actually the right way to make a game, but rather because like a lot of streamers do shit like that, where they talk about game balance and it's almost always exclusively designed around their own bias, which is whatever will make them do better at the game, unfortunately. And that's why developers, well, you have to take, it would be a shame to throw away input from streamers, because there's a lot of streamers that play the game tons, and they do bring up relevant issues on their game. You have to take it with a grain of salt. Apex Legends, regardless of Shroud's input, would have been a pretty good game, because people talk about this game feels like Overwatch, it feels like fucking PUBG, and it feels like Call of Duty. It's Titanfall. It feels like Titanfall. It feels like they took the Titans out of Titanfall. And I'm actually I actually kind of feel bad that there isn't wall running in the game, to be perfectly honest. There isn't enough straight slopes on the walls, but Like, the fact that they took out wall running in the game is actually kind of sad, and I really hope they re-add something like that. It could be that they took it out because it made people too mobile, and they wanted to make it so people could actually participate in gunfights. And however, in the game right now, the guns are all 100% accurate, so there's very little skill that goes into that. Haha, I know. Because it's all about aim. That's like the end game of this game is just aiming. Is that, as you can see with some of the bigger streamers that are just really, really good at aiming, and that's all they do. Like, they don't need to have any sort of battle sense whatsoever. They just need to aim their gun, and they'll get free kills. I know it's kind of it actually seems, I know that's a tough thing for a lot of people to swallow, but a lot of people do think that the only skill in video games is aiming, and that is completely, absolutely untrue. You can go watch a game like Overwatch, for instance, where some of the characters don't have aim to them, and there's a lot more that goes into playing the game and your positioning, when you're utilizing abilities. So Overwatch isn't the end-all be-all of game development, but like more goes into the game than just aiming your weapon, which is why they didn't really get Fortnite very well. Like, the people that are really into like Apex, who hated Fortnite, and like Proud, for instance, is because he can only really aim. That's like all he does very well is just aim, and then like he doesn't do the rest of the game very well. And even then, like, he doesn't manage his recoil on his weapons, or not the recoil, but the cone of fire. Like, you have to stop, you know, you could crouch, you could ADS, but he doesn't manage his distribution of his bullets very well, unfortunately. And then people just like that just complain about bloom. They're like, oh, this game sucks because of bloom. That's not the whole... There's things you do to reduce bloom, right? To reduce your cone of fire. Things you do on that, and not everyone does that, so... Kind of weird. It's kind of weird that there's big streamers that have tons of gameplay hours, and then they don't figure out how like basic gun mechanics work in game. Weird shit. Just like the bullets, your cone of fire is basically inside your crosshair. That's the way good games are designed. Some obviously fuck it up, but generally speaking, your cone of fire is the inside of your crosshair. That's where the bullets will always land. That's the distribution, so you can watch it grow, and there is an intuitive link between watching the crosshair grow and, you know, come together, and when you choose to pull the trigger, at what point you choose to pull the trigger. You know, it's not just first time you see someone, just instant fire, instant fire, instant fire, you know. There's actually more that goes into actually gunplay than just pulling the trigger. And I think that's a really good thing. There's a lot of people that argue otherwise, but there's also a reason that Counter-Strike gameplay is basically went the way of the dodo, because it's some old monolith. It's 20 years old. The mechanics for that game are 20 years old, and that's why they aren't in a lot of newer games, because it makes the game boring, because games have evolved, they've changed. I mean, we have fucking building of games now. That's something that wasn't around like 5 years ago. That's like, you know, that is very rudimentary, like placing pre-built assets in a game. Like Tribes, for instance. Tribes 2 had that, where you could place buildings in it. Or having it in like a fast-paced setting like Fortnite, just something like people would have thought of years ago. Actually, I take that back. I thought of that. It's in my manifesto for the game I want to make eventually. But putting that aside, you got to self-plug, guys. You always have to self-plug, otherwise people won't believe you. You can't hype yourself up. You won't hype yourself up unless you self-plug. But anyways, just like stuff like that just went out of style because it's boring. Like, just having 100% accurate guns all the time is boring. Like, I forgot what the name of the game is, made by the people that made not Motocross, Trackmania. I think it was the first-person shooter made by the developers of Trackmania, and all it was a game with laser rifles and jump pads. It was basically like a speedball course with like 1 or 2 shot hits to kill people, and it had like 2 guns in it, and failed miserably. Even though it was all about just like fast-paced, just like impulse aiming. It's just not like, that's not the end-all be-all of skills in games. That's not it. Like, that isn't the end-all be-all of esports, is how fast you can aim to a dot on a screen. They could just take out the game itself and just make that the game where you're just aiming at dots. That makes people feel better about how good they are at aiming, you know? But anyways, moving on. That's something that Respawn's going to have to confront, and it's going to be very difficult for them to confront that at the end of the day, because there's going to be a lot of hate for them converting to cone of fire, but as I mentioned before, they could also convert to a non-carriage return recoil. So when you fire like this and your gun pops, it stays there. It inherit, like, it goes to wherever you're aiming after the recoil. So you have to reposition your weapon to take into account like the new where you're aiming. It'd mess up aiming for a lot of people, because then they'd have to actively manage their recoil, and that's something a lot of people don't do. Much like a cone of fire, it's another way of doing accuracy in a game. Either way, the current balance, gunplay balance in Apex is really shitty at the moment, and they're gonna have to confront it, or people are gonna quit. And I don't mean that it is to be sensationalist. It's just because it's boring. What it comes down to, it's boring just playing with a couple guns, and you can add all the guns you want. If people just go back to it and the gunplay's boring, they're gonna quit. Amazing trick shot. This is a crabber. Yeah, so the crabber is a weird gun. Sometimes it is 100% accurate off the hip, and sometimes it's not. Yeah. Sometimes it's 100% accurate, sometimes it's not. We went to the training range and did exactly that. It's like, sometimes you'll hit shots with 100% accuracy, and sometimes it'll throw your shot around, and it's really weird. It's like predetermined spread on a weapon. I don't know if it's the number of shots you fire before it'll give you a 100% accurate one, or if it's just you have a random chance of doing it. There's definitely some sort of RNG mechanic to it where it'll decide whether or not, and it's not based off of crouching or anything like that, or if you're not moving. It just seems to be a random chance for it to happen, and it happened for him right there. Team got trapped between the zone and the mountain. Finally used Wraith right. Oh boy. Not sure why he didn't E. Oh, there he goes. Okay. That. Gonna be a win? Oh, they died horribly after this clip ended. Can't pull out? What? Yep, I really do think that there's actually exploits in the game, guys, that make shit like this happen. The other day we had it where we couldn't actually stop punching someone till they killed me. I'm pretty sure this is cheats. This is cheating shit that's going on, not just game bugs. And that's what's fucking with things. Like, this isn't just them. Look at all the other squads around him. This is like the shit you get in like Arma, where people teleport you to like the middle of nowhere and like gag you and shit. I'm pretty sure this is cheating. Like I mentioned the other day, there is tons and tons of cheats available for this game now. Google cheats are available. That's another thing that's definitely going to kill this game if they don't get that under control. Like right now, it's funny because people think these are bugs in the game. I don't buy that anymore. I've had a couple scenarios where just shit happens, where like my gun isn't loaded, and we had a discussion about this in chat multiple times. Whenever this happens, like I pull out my gun and then it reloads my gun, like it finishes cocking my gun, even though clearly when I put away my weapon, it was already cocked and it was ready to go. And then I pull it out in a clutch situation, and then I can't use it. A lot of really weird animation glitches and exploits in the game. Some maybe, but like look at all these people. It's not just this one guy. Look at all these people. The same shit's happening to them. Almost no one making use of feedback, like anyone talking about why this might happen. sometimes really weird shit with your character where you can't perform with them. It does make me wonder an awful lot about whether or not it's actually just malicious. I mean, like, the weird thing about this, guys, is like, you wonder why people find this funny, but no one questions why this is happening. It's people in reality, people in life, guys, are fucking weird. Why are there so many replies and there's no one discussing why this actually happened? Like they find it hilarious that all the squads just jumped to their death, but what caused it to happen? That's the more pressing question here: is why did it happen? Why did this happen just now? Why? And everyone's just, tee, it's so funny, me, 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 tee, tee, hilarious, tee, tee, me, 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 me. Like, where's the one actual informative or interesting discussion here? There's always one. Like, if someone might actually have a reasonable discussion of why this was going on. There we go. Hey, look, he has 0 points. He got downvoted because he wasn't memeing? That's a weird bug. Any idea what could cause this? Invisible play wall. Basically, the ship is allowing players to jump outside the designated play zone. It's locking them in free fall. No. I don't think developers would do that. You can jump off the map and die. I've never seen an invisible wall in the game. Maybe there's a better explanation. Theoretical explanation of what's going on here. Yeah. Basically, there's nothing. Everyone's just tee-heeing about what's going on here, and almost no one's actually discussing why it happened to cause it. Look at their ping, hold your ping button, and the sort of okay no menu appears. What? This guy's part of a squad right now, and he broke off from the squad and he tried to move and he couldn't. There are a bunch of other people that just died around him. Like 5 squads or something. Fortunately, you can't see how many squads are left. If you can dream it, guys, people will make cheats for it, so... Programmers too. I couldn't let them get away after they looked up on me. Yep. How mad is that guy? Oh, I thought you were talking about what just happened to Envy. I figured out you can say, yeah, no in game. Yeah, I've seen that, but, like, you can't respond to other things in the game besides, like, going to a location. And I think you can only acknowledge it, like, you click on it. Doors in this game. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about doors in this game. Like I said, if you could go into animation where you broke it and just, like, push people out of the way, it'd actually be very useful. Like a 2-second animation. Yeah. When I was talking about that the other night, it's just about being able to actually access voice bind menu of some kind. Basic rudimentary stuff like yes, no, thanks. Okay. So done with this. It's scrolling now. It's on infinity scroll. We aren't going to infinity scroll with Reddit because that goes on forever. What I want to do is I want to make it so Apex only uses five threads. Process Affinity. Okay. If I remember right, it converts to hex. It's really weird how this works for Affinity Mask. Also, for some reason, YouTube is buffering tonight. Affinity Mask Calculator. Still streaming, so DNS just go down or something? If I disconnect, guys, you know what's going on. That's working. Part of the internet just go down, guys? Try my shit connection. Oh. I think Valve's artifact game that was received so poorly, I've never heard of that. Valve's artifact game. So decimal. Converted to hexadecimal. Oh, Valve's card game. I don't know. Valve kind of lucked into the draw. They made like a couple good games, and then Steam, and basically they've been living off of Steam forever now. They don't really make anything anymore. That's kind of one of my problems with Valve. Is they're just kind of this like fat old school company, this ancient company from the years past. Yeah, they're like this ancient game from years past where developers basically go. It's like utopia for developers where they go there and they can work on whatever they want, and then just nothing happens. They don't make anything anymore. And occasionally they'll get talent like Dota. They just got the lead developer from mod for it, and they had him make a game. Had him work on a game. Dota 2. Otherwise, I don't even consider Dota 2 one of Valve's games. It's kind of like this old fucking piece of shit. Dota 2, not a fan of Dota 2. Dota 2 is too old and decrepit. Like League of Legends, I prefer HOTS personally, but League of Legends at least tried to change the formula and make things better. Dota 2 is just not even a game. I don't consider it a game from Valve. Valve hasn't released anything in years besides like Portal. That was a long time ago. Valve is hell of what the Blizzard did that for a while. Blizzard released WoW, and then they just didn't do anything for the longest time. Sat on their laurels and let the money drain in. Yeah. It's like all the people that hated League of Legends just play Dota. Like, it's one of the reasons no one will ever play HOTS, and why HOTS can't be taken seriously. It's because it's too different from normal MOBAs. Both crowds just fucking hate a third party. Any third party that come along that changes the formula. And Dota 2 is like for all the people that hate League of Legends and that don't like League of Legends. What we're trying to do now is set the affinity for okay. Yes. R5 Apex. Wrong. Or let's see. Let's see if this even works. Launched properly. That took a little bit. Oh. So you might not be able to set this through. It could be easy anti-cheat is also changing. Affinity after it launches. Chirping again. Must be something's going on with my DNS right now. So like if I don't lose internet connection and everything's just working, but like you can't access websites, this is almost always DNS. I'm not trying to change the priority. Priority changing almost does nothing unless your CPU is getting super pegged, and that ever actually helps. Maybe I'd find something relating to X. I'll execute. Apparently this relates to cheating. Or not cheating, hacking. Good! Now, you always know you're in a good spot when you find references to hacking. All because I want to change my affinity. Let's see. CPU priority class. Okay. Probably egg for here. Why are my songs on repeat?
Spinning TV.
Weird. Yeah, I definitely think my DNS is having issues tonight. By title, Affinity. Process get that process Affinity mask. Task manager. Good night for web browsing, guys. Task manager. So I might be able to put this on execution option. Priority class. Process Affinity mask. Okay. Also, my music. Software. This is before for Fortnite. So I'm trying to find out where the actual list of arguments is. Yep. Good. Why can't you guys just be satisfied with me just playing games? Why can't you be satisfied with me playing games? I don't need to browse the web. I don't want to find test file info.txt. That's not what I'm looking for. And suspicious. Axle threads set to 1 to disable parallel loading. Chrome loads slower. Excuse me, guys. Actually, looks like my DNS is working fine, to be perfectly honest here. Makes me wonder. Parallel thread loading. File execution. Are you guys? No, actually, it is. Actually, a lot of DNS servers are having packet loss right now. Including Google. This doesn't show. DNS benchmark, by the way, is a great way of finding a third-party benchmark that doesn't use your ISP to find the fastest DNS in your area. And I use 2 different DNSs here. One's Google DNS. Look at this. This red here is basically packet loss. Just like it's not responding. The DNS isn't responding. Actually, a lot of these are from different providers too. Like level 3 is the ISP of ISPs, like Charter, Comcast, AT&T. They all use like, there's a couple of them, but level 3 is one of the biggest ISPs. Backbone providers, and they provide a DNS service. And even they're having a lot of these. This is Google having issues. Companies. Kind of weird. That's like kind of interesting. I was gonna say like back. A lot of different companies here that are all having problems with their DNS. It's always weird when the internet just kind of coordinatedly shits itself across like multiple. These are big companies. These are big things, and like multiple are having issues at the same time. This will probably be fixed tomorrow. But this this looks something like an attack's happening of some kind right now on DNS providers. It could just be my link to the location, but I'm not having problems with my stream. I'm not dropping any frames. My ping is fine. I'm not getting any packet loss on my connection. So these are all over the world. All around NA, I should say. Oh, can't fix that. Debugger each hour option as plague. Alright guys, sorry about that. Okay, so not really doing anything interesting here. Trying to figure out how to find the process affinity, if this can be executed. Options, process. This isn't helping either. Properties, Daisy, Steam icon, and select properties set affinity. Maybe you could do this through. I don't think this is gonna work. No, it can't. Easy anti-cheat prevents that from you editing the process. So you can't change the priority and you can't change the affinity. Yay! So this is how you do this through the command line. And that doesn't, I don't think that really here. I know it's not doing it. Yeah, this is something that's actually pretty easy to do. Let's try putting it at the beginning. Matter. I don't need to wait for the game to load. Yeah, this doesn't work. This is like a gimped command line. This doesn't actually work properly. Nothing. Trying to do what I'm doing. No response. Never found a solution. How to do it through priority, but not affinity. So I might just end up having to cap my FPS again if I can't do this, because every time my processor maxes out, I get stuttering. Occasionally happens. Super smooth up until that point, though. It happens in gunfights. Make this wrong? I say. Well, I think what happens is when you try to start R5 Apex, it goes to Origin and then it launches it with command line arguments in Origin. So it's not even like launching the EX. Why you end up with all of my tweaks on here. Settings in the game launches it again. Like stops launching and launches it again. Let's see. Force engine. Might be something in a bat file, or not in a bat file, in a text document. What's with FPS? What do you mean? Person shooter? What? Already class. Like, I'm looking for arguments you can add in here for the registry. That's like, that would allow me to find the option I need, but yeah. Titanfall's capped at 144 FPS, but you can uncap the FPS. However, it leads to stuttering when your CPU maxes out. And with 6 cores, my CPU occasionally still gets maxed out 100% and then it'll stutter. Let's try something else here. That didn't work. Thought maybe I could do it before. Well, it's fine at 144. What I'm trying to do is uncap the FPS, but make it so I don't get my CPU doesn't max out. That's the end result here. Is the end game. The game, I understand the game runs at 144 FPS. I understand that. I understand that. What we're trying to do here, though. Old DNS. Getting fucked up the wazoo. Yes, guys. Is anyone else's internet in the U.S., if you guys live in the U.S., or any of your internets having issues loading web pages right now? I mean, I could change the priority of the process to like below normal. That'd probably prevent the stuttering. However, that would also introduce lag, I'm sure, of some kind. I want to stay away from that. Good. Life is going lovely, as per usual. We're trying to figure out how to modify process affinity through the registry. Can't do it with Task Manager. Can't do it with the start file or start a bad file. Okay, we're gonna do a different way since this isn't really going anywhere. We're gonna do this a different way. That not going to be tweaking the affinity like I want to, however. Okay. Process Affinity, it's how many CPUs you're... I get the spikes to 100% when my FPS is uncapped, so we're talking like 300 FPS. I don't get that with 144 FPS, but the downside of 144 FPS is it's 144 FPS. Yes. Yeah, and I've already went over that before of why I'd rather not cap my FPS at 200. That's the plan B, is like capping the FPS at like 240 or something, which may or may not be linked. Like the high FPS may or may not be linked to the actual stuttering. Like it could be something to do with ragdolls or anything that uses your CPU basically. What's causing the stuttering. Artificially capping it lower might not actually be what's wrong with the game. That is the brute force workaround, is just leave it capped at 144 or 200. Whatever. And this right now is being caused because for some reason my DNS isn't working very well. My multiple DNSs aren't working very well. This shows that there's 54 threads running for R5 Apex. Change the number of threads it has, like 4. That's not the number of cores you have, that's something completely different. Thought that was a really low number. Yeah, that's not the number of cores you have. Threads it can use. I mean, we could try it just to see what happens here. Right here is overriding my task. Actually be behind the task bar. What happens if I do that? Threads. Threads, definitely not the same thing as CPUs. Affinity. Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is, because it's definitely more than 4 threads. It could just be just not doing anything here. Some of the launch options you can do just don't do anything, and basically they think it's doing something, but it's not. Just like the max FPS option doesn't even do anything unless you set unlimited. If you set it to something weird in the launch file, it won't actually do anything. Only when you set it to unlimited, it uncaps everything.